And you may have heard the last few weeks that we've been giving recommendations of wines on Selina's Culinary Corner. Obviously, they haven't come from me, but they've come from our next guest, Mark O'Neill from thewineplace.es, who doesn't like Barry Manilow, apparently.
That's a bit unfair, thing.
Let's just tell the world. Did you not like that song?
Well, it's a long time since I've sat and listened to a whole song of Barry, but it was, I must admit, he's lasted over the years. He still blasts songs out there, so everybody seems to enjoy him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must be the one who's the odd one out here.
Well, I think he's lasted largely to Botox, and I was thinking maybe you could recommend a wine to go with Barry Manilow.
Oh, God, I need a wine after listening to Barry. No, I don't.
Oh, dear.
No, to listen to Barry, I have a great wine to listen to Barry. You would have to have something nice and soft and fruity, like a white Zinfandel from California, something like that, which is full of nice, sweet fruit and easy drinking style.
Wow. It's a good game, actually, isn't it, for somebody like you to say what wine would you have with which person?
It's a good.
Maybe when we get to know each other better, I'll ask you what wine you'd have for me.
And even better, another twist to the game would be, what does that person, thinking of that person, what does it make the wine taste like? Because one of the things about how you feel determines how the wine will taste also.
Really?
So very much so. It's one of the things when I'm talking about wine, when I'm doing broadcasts or whatever, is I try to get across to people, it's a very personal thing. I can only give you tips, but what you feel, what you taste is very personal. And it's so therefore, if you see somebody or are with somebody that you really enjoy their company, you're having fun with, you're relaxed, pretty much all wine's going to taste good.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are with somebody who is making you feel tense or uncomfortable, or with a boss, for example, or in a tense scenario, a wine is going to taste much more bitter and sharper. And that's just a natural reaction, because in your saliva, you're going to, whatever enzymes in the saliva will react differently to the components of the wine.
How interesting. And is it also true, Mark, that, whilst you can recommend them and whilst there are some experts that can go for really expensive wines, you should always go for what you like, no matter what the price? Absolutely.
There is whenever I listen to people, talking about wine like me, I suppose. No, but it's, I try to tell people, listen to what they say, bear in mind the facts, what they want to give you, but ultimately it's your decision. And whenever I'm telling people about wine or people ask me about wine, one of the first questions is, well, how much do you want to spend? And that's very important, to feel comfortable with your own budget. Mm. You can spend a fortune. And I can assure you, in any blind tasting that I do with people, I never talk about price. I never show the prices of the wines. And I just go through the wines and we taste everything and then say, okay, tell me the wines you preferred. And I can guarantee that the most expensive, most complex wines won't be those that are most preferred. But as soon as you show somebody a label and a price, they think, oh, that must be good.
Yeah.
Which is, it may be good, but is it the right wine for you? And that's the key difference.
Yeah, true. And of course, what we've been doing over the last few weeks, is it the right wine to go with a certain food?
It's one of the big misconceptions in wine about when you're combining wines with food, red meat with red wine, white meat with fish. There's absolutely no scientific evidence to support this. They are customs, and I always say to people, if you're comfortable, if you like whatever your favorite wine is, and if you're having fish and chips, or if you're having, a bowl of pasta with a bolognese sauce, if that suits you, that's fine. However, you can also, if you're curious about wine, this is not for everyone, if you're curious, then you need to understand that certain wines, certain characteristics are going to accompany certain sauces, certain flavors more than others. For example, why does Chianti, everyone knows Chiantis.
Mm-hmm,
Sangiovese is a grape variety from Tuscany in Italy. Goes perfectly with a bolognese sauce. Now, why is that? Because a tomato-based sauce is actually quite a difficult sauce to combine with the wine, because it's quite high in acidity And it's quite high in umami, that word you're hearing a lot now in the culinary corner.
Yeah, the sixth sense of taste.
The sixth sense, and it affects wine hugely. However, the Chianti, which is the local grape for the traditional, Italian sauces are made in Tuscany, it has a high level of acidity, which is able to combine well with the acidity from the sauce. And therefore, when you drink the wine, you don't notice the acidity so much, but other flavors come through. And when I'm talking about umami, it's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one because there's so many. It's not just a one flavor thing or a one component. There are different levels of umami in different types of food.
Interesting. Well, you obviously know a lot about wine, and we'll talk about the wineplace.es later, but a bit about you. How did you become interested in wine?
When I was young, I'm originally from Northern Ireland. I'm from Belfast. I lived in London when I was from 18, so I worked as a sommelier, first of all, and in many restaurants in the West End of London. And then I was given the opportunity to work as a distributor join a distributor who was a wine importer. And that was my break, if you like, to really getting a proper grounding into. I was curious about wine, but like most people, I knew nothing about it, and it all seemed French, it all just seemed completely confusing and very difficult to get your head around. So I was very lucky at the start. I had a good boss who believed in getting a proper grounding, a proper education in wine. So over the first few years in London, I studied very hard and got my qualifications, the WSET diploma. It's the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. And I was also fortunate. It was a period of time during the 1990s, late 80s, 1990s, when the wine market was exploding in terms of new countries being discovered, new styles being developed. And I worked with a team of young Australian winemakers, and we traveled around the world making wines to be imported back into the UK for the likes of Tesco and Sainsbury's and stuff. And then about 20 years ago, I did that for some years, and then I moved out to Spain. I specialized in Spanish wines in Latin America, and because I was traveling all the time, I was based here. I live in Valencia, and I continued traveling and working from here. So my evolution, if you like, in the wine world has been one from just simple curiosity to just continually learning. And you know what the nice thing, Selina? Mm-hmm. I still have the same. My friends in the wine world, the other women and men who I've worked with over the years, we still have the same sort of childlike enthusiasm for the wine. Hey, have you tasted that? No, he's doing. It's never a conversation like, oh, this is so good. No, you gotta taste this. It's really good, and that's what we do.
It's a passion, isn't it? It's important.
Yeah, very much so.
The wineplace.es, how long has that been in operation? The
wineplace.es started a couple of years ago because my main business still remains making wines in Spain for export. And I said to a group of friends, it was 2 years ago more or less, I said, hey, I have all these friends in the world who make good wines. If I bring them in here to Spain, will you guys buy them? So everyone had to chip in. I said, okay, we did that. And then more people come in and said, oh, hey, we don't want to buy like 10 cases. Can we buy one case? Yep, you can buy one case. Then more people come in. And suddenly, we better get a web page for that. And then it started to grow. And from starting off with 10 wines, there are now 90 wines. And there are about 500 regular, members who join the wine place. You don't have to know anything about wine. Most people don't, but they're curious.
Yeah.
They want to and they'll get in contact and say, hey, I'm interested in wine. Can you make a selection? So I will ask a couple of questions, and that's how it's developed, word of mouth.
That's brilliant.
And because when it started, some people said, you honestly think that Spanish people, because the other curious thing, most of the members are Spanish. With their own, and the members are just, they're very proud of their own wines, of course. They love their own wines. But hey, as I explained to people, to me, there are no frontiers. There's nothing in the way. It's just, I just look for good wines. And if it comes from a particular region, that's great. But I'm not buying it because it comes from that particular region. I want wines which reflect something that is intrinsic to that. So, to the style of wine, to the grape variety, to the climate, to the region, and something that I would say, if you've never, for example, if you've never tried a Torrontés from Argentina, this is a good example of that. There may be better ones, and that's so people, trust my judgment. I think, and they keep coming back for more. So
is that what people do? It's not just literally going online and ordering. It's asking for your advice. If they were having a certain type of dinner party or something, and they wanted a type of wine, you would help them.
Absolutely. No, because many people just go online and buy. That's fine. Many restaurants come in and they buy also for specific wines. But most people, I would say, would ask for a couple of suggestions, a couple of, just to help them because they'll be unfamiliar. And that I'm delighted when people do that, because I don't want people to look at a website and think, all these wines, where do you start?
Yeah.
So I will ask a couple of questions. Well, what do you usually drink, or what style to make it even easier? I said, okay, now if you don't know the style of wine you like, I would say something like, how do you have your coffee? Well, how do you have your coffee, Selina, in the morning?
Not strong, but not weak either. I have the middle, the café con leche, we call it.
Café con leche. Right. Now, that's a very good indicator to me of the style of palate, and gives me a way of suggesting some wines that will suit you, which would be distinct or different rather from someone who says to me, oh, I really like, a café solo, a strong café solo in the morning. Okay, so that's a more tannic, slightly more a tendency towards a more bitter style that you can more tolerant towards that. So with that that's how the conversation starts. And then I said, well, how much do you want to spend? How many people are going to be there? What's the occasion? Is it a fun, relaxed occasion? Is it a wedding? Is it or is it just 6 friends getting together, or 6 girlfriends, or 3 whatever it is? Very important, because as I mentioned earlier, this where you're going to drink the wine is important.
Yeah, makes a difference. Yeah,
it does. So they seem like silly little things, but subtle differences. It's like when we get ready to go out, or you dress yourself up. If you just throw on that scarf, or that add that little bit of splash or color, just sets up an outfit that you're wearing. It's that sort of, just a little touch can just add the something a little bit special to the evening.
And I think that makes it a bit more exciting as well, other than just picking a bottle of something that you think you know.
Well, most people, and this is just an opposite. This is just true. Most people tend to just walk in and buy the same thing that they always buy.
I must admit, I do. It's a bit sad, isn't it?
There's not sad. There's nothing wrong with it. But at the end, what happens is the wine, you bought it for a reason. You bought it that first time, and it gave you, oh, I like that. But if you keep drinking the same wine on a regular basis, it'll be consistent, but it'll end up like drinking Coca-Cola. It's fine, but you don't get that same thing that's that first thing. The first thing that first taste, that first sensation is, oh, I like this. And that's what I try to, when people come to me to find a wine they like, I said, oh, Mark, I like that wine. Oh, I want to get a case of that. I said, hey, if you want a case, you can have it. But my suggestion is, if you like that style, let's try some other wines in this range of styles, if you like, and then go back to that. Because what I want is for you to go back and find that, always have that, it's like that first, that best tasting note you ever have is, I like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to help people to do.
It's great for our listeners in the Valencia area, because you have a wine school as well.
Yes. Yep. I'm in the middle of a course now. Actually, we offer the Wine and Spirit Education Trust courses here in Valencia, and we have a level 2 course midway through it. So it's funny because some of the wine schools in Spain, they tend to crash a lot of information into a short period of time, 2 days to do. But there's a lot of information, so we do it in much more sessions, but shorter sessions, because we're not students anymore, and we don't have the capacity to concentrate for 8 hours.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So I prefer to do it 2 sessions a day. We start about 9:30 to 1:30 and cover a couple of subjects. So instead of doing it in 2 days, we'll do it in 4 half days, and then afterwards we'll do the exam. And then I do a lot of tastings for companies and for groups of people as well, just to bring something which would be something new to that they probably have never tasted before. But it's because I think people, yourself when you walk into a wine store or supermarket and you see a wall of wine and you think, oh my God, where do you start?
It's more like a minefield than a vine.
It's a minefield, and it shouldn't. It's sad, but I know it's true. It's sad but true, if you like. And but just with a couple of little hints, a couple of little bits of information, you need to do a little bit of homework. That's true. You need to be curious about the subject to find out. Okay, if I like that, well, what does that have that I can find in another wine? And then that's how I try to guide people to, or steer, just help them in the right direction to finding the style that suits them.
And what can also help is you have an online wine magazine, so people can look at that too to find out more.
That's right. It's the markoneil.es. That's at least once a week. There's a newsletter. There's a blog, because I write in the newspaper El Mundo every week. So I write in Spanish, and then there's an English version also, which goes on the blog site. So that's keeps me busy. And I also write about people's suggestions. Someone will contact me and say, "What does this mean?" Or "What does I didn't?" And so okay, there's no silly question. There's no thing that seems obvious to, because whenever you have some information or you're quite experienced in something, you take things for granted. And I'm never amazed. It always amazes me. Of course, why didn't I think of that? For example, I wrote an article this week, it'll come out next week, about wines which are actually blends. And a lady I was speaking to her, and she said, "Is a blend? Oh, that doesn't sound great." I said, well, many of the great wines of the world are actually blends. Bordeaux, a Bordeaux red is a blend of 3 wines, 3 grape varieties. Rioja is not one wine. It's a blend of Tempranillo and 2 or 3 other grape varieties. So it's a bit of information that it makes it so. Therefore, you can get varying. That will determine this styles of a particular Rioja. Like a Rioja in Spain, it's not just one style of wine. There are many styles of wine within Rioja, and that's so it's all a bit of fun.
It's fascinating, and I'm very fortunate that I'm doing this show and that you're going to be on every month, because it's something that I've wanted to learn more about for the longest time. So I'm really looking forward to our monthly chats. You're still going to be recommending a wine every week for the Culinary Corner.
Look forward to it.
And maybe next month we can talk about the do's and don'ts or misconceptions about wine. And during our chat, Mark, a few people have tried to call in. I haven't taken any calls because that isn't what we agreed. But next month, maybe we can take some calls if people have questions for you.
Love to.
Wonderful. Now, give us the website again so people can find out more.
thewineplace.es. And if you have any questions, just drop me a line to the website, and I will get back to you. We just so that the listeners know, we deliver all across the Spanish Peninsula. And it's the minimum order is a bottle. Minimum, it's 3
really
cases.
Good.
Well, apart if it orders up from €60, then shipping is free. Obviously, if it's one bottle, we have to add a shipping charge because it's just costs us more. But and I listen to what people say to me, because one member said, "Mark, a case of 6 is a lot. I live in my own. I don't have that big an apartment. Can I order a case of 3?" I said, well, of course you can. So we made cases of 3, and now you can order cases of 3 or cases of 1. So it's very much try something new.
Fantastic. Mark O'Neill from thewineplace.es, thank you very much for being on the show.
Great, my pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Mark O'Neill, owner of thewineplace.es, your online store for international wines. Thewineplace.es, sponsor of Selina's Culinary Corner on Lifestyles.